Island's a place where people disappear to in New York City. Because it's run by the penal system, it's very difficult to get access. Currently, once or twice a week, 25 to 50 bodies are delivered by the medical examiner to Hart Island, and those are buried before noon on the days that they arrive.
There is hardly a day that some unidentified body is not taken from the waters adjacent to the city, while others are picked up in the streets and sent to the morgue to await the identification that in many instances is never made. For those people, the city provides a burial ground on Hart Island in the East River. I live in London, and so I'm very aware of, the past, the history of London, and the plague and the fire, and, the poor being buried in huge, swathes of mass graves. And New York City is exactly the same. Poverty was rife, and so no one had money to be buried ceremoniously.
This is where anyone who is buried by the city is buried, and so that includes people for whom next of kin cannot be found, people whose next of kin, for whatever reason, elects not to do a private burial, or people who are not identified.
A few New Yorkers can recall when Washington Square, Madison Square, and Bryant Park were used as public burying grounds. These bodies were taken up and removed to less expensive ground, and the parks created as the necessity for them arose.
I thought that it was really going to be a dark experience going there, and actually Hart Island is a very beautiful location. The city started burying there in 1869. The Department of Correction provides the labor. Young men convicted of misdemeanors are selected for city burial. Some days they're just performing maintenance on the island, and other days they're burying the dead.
You will see there are two different types of plot markers. Behind me are kind of our older cement markers that just sit on top of the ground. And then over here we have PVC pipe markers. Each one of the markers does denote the end of a plot, which has about 150 caskets buried in it. But our records, of course, have the exact location of each person within a plot.
I think the assumption is that it's all homeless people, indigent burials. It's much more mixed than that. It's much more like New York City, where you get sort of the rich and the poor, and everybody's buried in exactly the same way. So there's this sense of being democratic, part of the fabric of the city that is quite beautiful.
It doesn't matter what you've achieved in life. It doesn't matter how much money you have in the bank. It doesn't matter how many houses you have or how many suits you have in the wardrobe. Death is the final chapter of every person that's ever lived. So it's better to accept that it's going to happen and try and live every moment of your life to the best possible way and embrace it and smile a bit. Because you never know, it might be the last time you smile,
The Alienist premieres Monday at 9 on TNT.